I am, like, emotionally destroyed. I am completely, utterly, and just irreparably devastated by a literal mountain in the Lake District.
Oh, it's a total disaster.
Just a treacherous pile of wet rocks and a man named Mr. Ryder, who I am legally ready to fight in a parking lot.
Get in line, honestly.
Right. My heart has been ripped out, stomped on by a muddy Regency boot, and left to freeze in a torrential downpour. I am spiraling.
We are all collectively victims of Scafell Pike right now. I mean, it was an absolute crime scene of romance.
A crime scene.
Literally a massacre of emotional vulnerability. But, you know, that is exactly what we are here to unpack today.
Yes. Babes, welcome back. We love you. We see you. And babes, we are so happy you're here.
So happy.
Because today, the Snark Squad is getting into it.
Yeah.
We are breaking down episode 9 of The Other Bennet Sister, and we are going to tear into the psychological warfare of the Lake District, the brutal mechanics of the Regency marriage market, and how a mountain stripped every single one of these characters down to their most terrifying core insecurities.
Yeah, we're really examining what happens when the strict, suffocating rules of 19th century etiquette are just, like, suddenly removed by the sheer force of nature.
It's feral out there.
It's survival of the fittest, both socially and physically. But before we get into the absolute chaos of the Bennet sisters, we need survival juice.
We really do.
What are we drinking to cope with the trauma of this week, babes?
Okay, Snark Squad, I have outdone myself this time. We have blueberry lemonade spritzers on deck, and babes, they are absolutely the perfect summer drink.
They are so good.
Right. It's all about the blueberry simple syrup. So you muddle fresh blueberries, simmer them with just a little sugar to keep it tart, and then mix it with fresh squeezed lemon juice.
And the sparkling water.
Yes, a heavy splash of sparkling water for that aggressive fizz. It wakes you up and it cools you down.
It's liquid air conditioning, which is literally exactly what you need in this weather. And the aggressive fizz is crucial. A flat spritzer is just sad juice. It needs that bite.
Exactly. A sad juice is not allowed on this show. So a massive toast to everyone out there in the Snark Squad enjoying the long weekend, staying hydrated, and just surviving the summer heat. Cheers.
Cheers, babes. And actually, speaking of surviving the summer heat, we have to talk about our Canada Day.
Oh my gosh, yes?
Because we had a rather bizarre kind of displaced experience this year that honestly perfectly mirrors the themes of alienation we are about to discuss with Mary Bennet.
It really does. Listeners, this year, we celebrated Canada Day in North Carolina. And, babes, it felt so strange.
So strange.
Like celebrating Canada's birthday in the deep American South is a geographical and emotional mind bend.
Well, the humidity in North Carolina in July is not just weather, it is a physical assault.
A literal assault.
It is this heavy, oppressive blanket of moisture that disrespects your will to live. And there we were, aggressively trying to be festive for July 1st while actively melting into the pavement.
We were dripping. But we went to this Canada Day party hosted by some friends, and it was essentially a support group for displaced Canadians.
It totally was.
You walk into this backyard, and suddenly you hear the accents, the specific intonations, like the A's dropping naturally, and you realize how many of us are just hiding in plain sight down south.
Yeah, undercover Canadians.
I was stubbornly decorating, though. I brought red and white streamers, little flags, everything.
And trying to explain Canadian traditions to our American friends who were there was high comedy.
Oh, it was hilarious.
It was a fascinating sociological experiment. I mean, I was trying to explain why we measure driving distance in time instead of miles, like saying a city is 2 hours away instead of 120 miles away. And this local guest just stared at me like I was speaking a lost dialect.
They were so confused. And then, of course, came the anthem.
Oh, no.
We all gathered around and we sang "O Canada" with way, way too much enthusiasm.
It was unhinged.
We were singing the bilingual version, too, stumbling over the French parts, just shouting, "Ton histoire est une épopée" at the top of our lungs while holding red Solo cups.
The American neighbors must have been terrified.
They probably were calling the HOA.
We were emotionally projecting our homesickness into the atmosphere. But, I mean, what anchored the entire bizarre experience was the food.
Oh, the food. Let's talk about the food.
A massive, beautiful barbecue spread. It really is the great equalizer.
They went all out. The classic thick, juicy burgers, the hot dogs with that perfect char.
But you always say a barbecue lives or dies by the fresh summer salads.
Because it does. You can throw meat on a grill all day, but if your side dish game is weak, the entire structural integrity of the meal just fails.
You need acid to balance the fat. It's culinary architecture.
Exactly. And this spread had a creamy, dill-heavy potato salad, a massive macaroni salad, and this crisp, acidic broccoli crunch salad that was just top tier.
So good. And the dessert table.
A literal love letter to the North. Nanaimo bars, butter tarts. But we debated this at the party. What makes the absolute perfect Canada Day barbecue?
It's a highly contested topic.
For me, it has to have that one specific dish that completely steals the show. And at this party, it was a maple-glazed smoked salmon.
Oh my God.
It was caramelized on the edges, flaky in the center, and it just tasted like a cabin in the woods. I almost cried eating it.
It felt like a bear in a flannel shirt had prepared it for us.
Yes.
But despite the incredible food and the camaraderie, the underlying feeling of displacement was palpable.
It really was.
Like, you can replicate the food and you can wear the colors, but you can't replicate the exact atmospheric frequency of home.
No, you really can't. Even though we had an amazing time, I definitely miss the connects back home. I miss the specific way fireworks echo over a Canadian lake where the sound just bounces off the pine trees.
Yeah, that acoustic quality.
But I miss the vibe of Canadian summer evenings, where it stays light out until 10 p.m. and the air finally cools down just enough to need a light sweater. Hearing everyone wish each other a happy Canada Day.
My favorite childhood memory of Canada Day perfectly encapsulates that very specific brand of chaotic nostalgia.
Tell the Snark Squad they need to know.
So I was about 12, living in a cul-de-sac. All the neighborhood dads pooled their money to buy this massive, absolutely unregulated box of fireworks.
Unregulated dads are the best dads.
They set them up in the middle of the street. It was pure chaos. I mean, a Roman candle tipped over and started shooting horizontally.
Oh my God.
Everyone was literally diving behind minivans. And my dad, who was usually incredibly strict about safety, was just standing there with a plate of ribs, laughing as colorful explosions bounced off the pavement.
That is amazing.
It was so chaotic, so fundamentally unsafe, and absolutely perfect.
A core memory of survival and processed meat. I love it. My favorite memory is always the cottage weekends.
Oh, classics.
Driving up to a tiny rustic cabin where the mosquitoes were like the size of small birds.
Mm-hmm.
We would go into town for this unpretentious local festival with three-legged races and pie-eating contests.
The small town aesthetic.
Yeah, and I just remember sitting on the hood of my uncle's car, eating a melted popsicle, watching a sad but endearing local parade, and just feeling so incredibly safe and cozy.
Well, from an analytical perspective, summer holidays trigger the most intense nostalgia because our brains encode memories tied to acute sensory experiences.
Oh, totally.
Like the smell of barbecue smoke, the sharp crack of fireworks, the physical sensation of mosquito bites. When you combine those intense sensory inputs with the emotional safety of childhood, it creates a permanent anchor.
A sensory time machine.
Exactly. Every July, your brain wants to revert to that state of unbothered existence.
But, babes, enough about our Canada Day nostalgia. Let's head back into the world of the Bennet sisters, because there's plenty of drama waiting for us there.
There's so much drama.
Let's set the scene, because we are avid fans, and I'm dying to tell you guys what happened. We're in episode 9. Mary is on a group vacation to the Lake District.
A fateful trip.
And she has entered a new era. In the opening narration, she says she knows what she wants out of life now and plans to seize it. She says, "Fortune favors the brave."
Such a good line.
I was cheering at my TV. She's no longer sitting in the corner with a dusty sermon. She is ready to live.
But we need to contextualize what seizing life actually meant for a woman in her position in the early 19th century.
Right, it's not just a fun trip.
Exactly. Mary is a spinster with virtually no dowry. Under the laws of the time, she has no legal autonomy. If she remains unmarried, she is entirely dependent on the charity of her male relatives, specifically Mr. Collins, who inherits Longbourn.
Which is a terrifying thought.
So when she says fortune favors the brave, she isn't just talking about taking a fun vacation. She is deciding to actively participate in a terrifying, high-stakes social economy where the only way to secure her physical and financial survival is to attach herself to a man.
The stakes are literally life or death, or at least comfort versus abject poverty, which makes the opening breakfast scene so incredibly tense.
Oh, the breakfast scene.
The pick-me energy radiating off of Caroline Bingley was toxic enough to kill small flora.
Caroline Bingley is a psychological study in desperation. Let's really analyze this breakfast dynamic because it is rich.
Please do.
Tom Hayward and Mr. Ryder are both clearly vying for Mary's attention. Caroline, who physically cannot tolerate a room where she is not the center of gravity, decides she must dominate the conversation to outshine Mary.
Because, God forbid, Mary gets a crumb of attention.
Right, and how does she do it? By publicly bringing up Tom's deepest recent trauma. She praises Tom for being brave enough to show his face in public after the humiliation of dumping Miss Baxter.
It was so deeply passive-aggressive. Like, she's pretending it's a compliment, but she's actually just reminding everyone that Tom has major baggage and was recently in a scandal.
It is textbook mean girl behavior, weaponizing his insecurity under the guise of politeness.
It's social assassination.
Disguised as etiquette. But the reason Caroline's behavior is so grating isn't just that it's mean, it's that she is violating a core tenet of upper-class behavior known as sprezzatura.
Ooh, wait, explain sprezzatura. I love when you get analytical.
So sprezzatura is an Italian concept from the Renaissance that heavily influenced British aristocratic behavior. It is the illusion of effortless grace.
Okay, effortless.
Right. You're supposed to excel at conversation, attract suitors, and dominate a room without ever looking like you're trying. Showing effort is considered gauche.
And Caroline is sweating.
She is sweating. She is trying so incredibly hard to command attention that she shatters the illusion of effortlessness. She looks desperate, which is the ultimate social sin in her circle.
That makes so much sense. She is gripping the steering wheel way too tight, and what's brilliant is how Tom handles it.
He just brushes it off.
He just cheerfully redirects his attention right back to Mary. Caroline's attack completely bounces off him because he is hyperfixated on our girl.
Which leads to that banter outside, which reveals so much about Tom's own internal struggles.
Yes, the Pemberley joke. Mary jokes that Elizabeth only fell in love with Mr. Darcy after seeing the massive size of his estate. Pemberley.
A great callback to Pride and Prejudice.
But Tom doesn't quite get the joke. He looks totally confused, as if Mary might actually think wealth is the most important priority in a husband.
This is a microscopic but vital crack in their communication. We have to look at the mechanics of class here.
Right, because he's not rich.
Exactly. Tom is a clergyman, or at least from the lower gentry. He does not have $10,000 a year like Darcy. When Mary jokes about marrying for a massive estate, Tom's imposter syndrome violently flares up.
Poor guy.
In a highly stratified, class-based society, wealth equates to worthiness. Tom suddenly feels a spike of insecurity because he lacks the very thing Mary is jokingly praising. He misses the sarcasm because his anxiety about his own social inadequacy is just way too loud.
My poor, anxious, nerdy king. He is so hyper-aware of what he can't give her. But then, the hike up Scafell Pike begins.
It's a fateful hike.
And the romantic tension is scaling the mountain right alongside them. We get the Battle of the Flowers.
There's botanical warfare.
Botanical warfare. Tom comes up to Mary and gives her a honeysuckle. And babes, how does our neurodivergent coded queen respond to this incredibly romantic gesture?
She info dumps.
She awkwardly rattles off intense botanical facts about the flower's toxicity. She's basically like, well, if you were to suckle on the berries, it would leave you quite sick. And Tom is just completely charmed by it.
It's an incredible use of floriography, or the language of flowers, which was a massive cultural phenomenon in the 19th century.
Because they couldn't just flirt openly.
Right. Strict societal rules prevented direct communication of romantic feelings, so people used flowers to send coded messages. Honeysuckle traditionally symbolizes devoted affection and bonds of love.
Aw, Tom.
Tom is trying to be traditionally romantic. Mary, however, processes the world through data and intellect. Her rattling off toxicity facts is her way of engaging. And the fact that Tom loves it shows that he isn't looking for a traditional demure Regency wife. He wants her brain.
Yes. But then Mr. Ryder swoops in.
Oh, Ryder.
He gives primroses to Mary and Caroline. He's playing the field, keeping his options open. He doesn't give a flower with a specific message of devotion.
He gives a generic flower to multiple women to ensure he remains the center of attention. Ryder views women as an audience, not as partners.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the real crux of this scene happens when the local mountain guide makes a joke.
Oh, this was peak comedy.
The guide says, the first to eat a primrose will be the first to marry. I literally paused the TV. I gasped.
Because Caroline Bingley actually does it.
Thinking nobody is watching, she secretly stuffs the raw foliage into her mouth and violently chews it.
It is the absolute pinnacle of marital desperation, and it goes right back to the failure of sprezzatura.
Feral sprezzatura.
To stand on a mountain and eat a toxic weed because a local guide made a superstitious joke, it's phenomenal physical comedy, but it also reveals a deeply grim reality.
The reality of the spinster.
Exactly. Caroline is aging out of the marriage market. If she does not secure a husband, her immense wealth and status mean very little because her brother, Charles, controls her living situation.
Once he marries Jane, she's out.
She becomes a permanent third wheel in someone else's household. She is terrified of obsolescence. She is literally eating foliage to stave off social invisibility.
That makes it so much darker, but also explains her absolute frantic energy. Meanwhile, Mrs. Gardner, who we must officially declare a true mother figure to Mary, heads back down the mountain early.
The master manipulator.
She sneakily tells Tom to take good care of Mary.
I love analyzing Mrs. Gardner's social maneuvering here. I compare her to a chess grandmaster who sacrifices a pawn to open the board.
So true.
Regency society had incredibly strict rules about chaperonage. Unmarried men and women could not be left alone together. It could ruin a woman's reputation.
Total scandal.
Mrs. Gardner recognizes the logistical blockade preventing Tom from proposing. She cites her own fatigue to remove herself and the Hursts from the equation, essentially creating a sanctioned chaperone vacuum.
A chaperone vacuum. I love that phrase.
By verbally instructing Tom to take care of Mary, she provides plausible deniability while explicitly giving him the parental green light. She manipulates the social chessboard with absolute elegance.
She is an icon. And Tom takes that green light and runs with it. Babes, we get the almost proposal. Maximum swooning.
The romantic tension peaked here.
They get higher up the mountain, away from the group. The physical touch in this scene is staggering. He fixes Mary's shawl. He gently pulls a petal from her hair. It is so intimate.
The intimacy is conveyed entirely through microexpressions. In a society where unmarried people rarely even touched hands without gloves on, adjusting a shawl, touching someone's hair is highly charged.
It breaks the barrier of formal propriety.
It establishes a private physical bond.
And then Tom starts talking about how small they are compared to the vastness of the view. He talks about how time is finite compared to nature. And he says, during this short time on Earth, shouldn't we be brave?
A direct callback to Mary's opening narration.
Yes. Fortune favoring the brave. They are on the exact same intellectual and emotional wavelength.
Yeah.
And then he delivers the ultimate line.
It was a good line.
Good. Jay, he looks at her and says, no one makes me feel more like me than you. I legitimately threw my pillow across the room.
You are so emotional.
That is the most romantic thing anyone could ever say because it bypasses all the superficial nonsense.
Well, let's unpack the mechanics of this proposal compared to traditional Regency proposals, because this raises a fascinating point about psychological visibility.
Well, tell me.
Think about Mr. Darcy's infamous first proposal to Elizabeth Bennet. What does Darcy talk about? He talks about his wealth, his status, his family's expectations, and how he is overcoming his better judgment to stoop to her lower social class.
Which is why Elizabeth violently rejects him. It's arrogant and objectifying.
Precisely. Darcy's proposal is entirely structural and transactional. It's about how Elizabeth fits into a socioeconomic world. But Tom's proposal, it completely ignores structure and focuses entirely on authentic identity.
Oh, I have goosebumps.
Mary has spent her entire life masking. She's been told by her mother, her sisters, and society that her true self, the nerdy, serious, fact-reciting Mary, is a disappointment.
Yeah, that she's weird.
Tom is looking at her and saying, the person you truly are is the person who makes me feel safe to be who I truly am. It is a radical acceptance of her authentic self.
Yeah.
It's not about estates or money. It's about mutual, unconditional psychological visibility. In a society built on performative artifice, being truly seen is the highest form of romance.
You articulated exactly why it hits so hard. It's the ultimate validation of her existence. He loves her mind. He loves her weirdness. And she was glowing, babe. She was so ready to say yes. And then the absolute worst moment in television history.
Enter Mr. Ryder.
The ultimate cockblock.
The human equivalent of a system crash.
I have never hated a fictional character more in my life. Just as Tom is about to finish his sentence and propose, Ryder abruptly interrupts.
It was painful.
He stomps over and says he absolutely must discuss a legal matter regarding his wealthy aunt, Lady Catherine de Bourgh, right now, on the side of a mountain.
The obliviousness is staggering, but we have to question if it's actually obliviousness or highly calculated malice.
Why malicious?
Ryder forces Tom to step away, and we get this massive immediate vibe shift. When Tom comes back, the warmth is completely gone.
He becomes cold, evasive, and incredibly distressed. The romantic momentum hits a brick wall. What did Ryder say to him? I was shouting at my television.
We don't know yet, but it worked.
And to make it infinitely worse, Ryder then obliviously starts reciting Wordsworth poetry. I wandered lonely as a cloud. Sir, are you not paying attention to the devastation in front of you?
He really wasn't.
How do you ruin a proposal and then quote poetry at the victims?
Well, this perfectly encapsulates a specific historical critique of the Romantic movement.
Oh, history lesson, let's go.
Romanticism, championed by poets like Wordsworth, focused on intense individual emotion and the sublimity of nature. But critics often pointed out that this intense focus on the self could bleed into extreme narcissism,
Oh, okay.
where the poet becomes so obsessed with their own internal landscape that they completely ignore the actual suffering human beings right next to them.
That is Ryder to a T.
Ryder views the world as a stage where he is the solitary, romantic main character, and everyone else is just set dressing. He doesn't read the room because he fundamentally doesn't believe anyone else in the room matters.
That is such a brilliant breakdown of his toxicity. And then, as if the universe is matching the emotional devastation, a severe storm rolls in.
A literal dark cloud over the mountain.
Tom, who is suddenly acting super weird and closed off, begs Mary to use her rational mind and head down the mountain to safety. But Mary is deeply wounded. She is angry.
Because she was just rejected, essentially.
She was just led to the edge of a proposal, and then Tom clammed up and withdrew. So she spitefully sides with Ryder, who wants to stay and watch the storm.
Terrible idea.
She says her new adventurous self wants to stay out in the elements.
This is such a messy, painfully human moment of self-sabotage, but logically it is infuriating. Tom is giving her sound, rational advice to avoid freezing to death, and she ignores it out of pure spite because her feelings are hurt.
Okay, I am fiercely defending Mary here.
I knew you would.
You cannot view this through pure logic, Jay. You have to view it through the lens of trauma response. Mary finally allowed herself to hope. She finally took the armor off and opened herself up to being loved.
Sure.
And the immediate result, from her perspective, was Tom pulling away and becoming cold. That perceived rejection triggers every single one of her old insecurities, that she is unlovable, that she is a burden. When she says her new adventurous self wants to stay, she's using her newfound bravery as a weapon against him. She's punishing Tom by aligning with the man she knows Tom views as a rival.
She wants him to hurt, too.
Exactly. Yes, it's physically dangerous to stay on the mountain, but emotionally, she is already bleeding. It is a brilliant depiction of how rejection makes us act entirely against our own self-interest.
Okay, I will concede that the psychological mechanism makes sense. It is a trauma response. She is preemptively rejecting him before he can formally reject her.
Exactly.
But her emotional retaliation immediately backfires because it leads us to the dissent and the cowardice.
Ugh, Ryder's betrayal.
As soon as the storm gets actually dangerous, as soon as the wind starts howling and the freezing rain is coming down sideways, Ryder, the man who wanted to stay and be romantic about the storm, completely panics.
He abandons them.
He abandons the women and sprints down the mountain to safety by himself.
The ultimate cowardice. I want to throw hands.
We must unpack the gravity of Ryder's cowardice in the context of the era.
Drag him.
In Regency society, the entire justification for patriarchal power, the reason men controlled the money, the property, and the government, was rooted in the concept of chivalry and protection.
Right, the trade-off.
Men were given absolute power in exchange for the duty to protect women who were considered the weaker sex. Ryder completely abdicates his moral and societal duty.
He failed.
When faced with actual physical adversity, his poetic bravado evaporates instantly, leaving behind a terrified, selfish little boy. He left two women in restrictive, heavy, waterlogged Regency clothing on a slick, freezing mountain. It is a fundamental failure of manhood in the eyes of his society.
He is an absolute fraud.
Yeah.
And because of his cowardice, disaster strikes. Caroline Bingley slips on the wet rocks and suffers a severe ankle injury.
In her slippery, impractical little Regency boots, which were not made for mountaineering.
So Mary and Tom are forced to physically carry Caroline down this mountain in the freezing rain.
It is a grueling descent. But what's fascinating is the shift in the dynamic between Mary and Caroline.
Yes. The feminine solidarity here is so refreshing, babes.
Yeah.
Earlier that day, Caroline was horrible to Mary. But the second Caroline falls and is in real physical danger, Mary doesn't hesitate. She rushes to help her. In so many period dramas, we see women constantly tearing each other down for male attention.
The catfight trope.
Right. But here, when the chips are down, Mary puts aside the petty rivalry and physically supports another woman who is in pain. They aren't fighting each other anymore. They are just two women fighting to survive a restrictive, dangerous system.
It completely subverts the trope. And we have to remember why women were so often pitted against each other in these narratives.
Because of the money.
The legal system of coverture meant women were competing for a very limited pool of resources, men with money. The system designed them to be rivals. Mary temporarily breaking that systemic conditioning to offer physical aid is a profound moment of grace.
It made me love her even more. And amidst all this physical struggle, we get Tom's reaction. He insists on taking over the heavy lifting. And as he's helping Caroline, he seethes at Mary, just furious and protective, and says, "Do you know how I would feel if anything were to happen to you?"
It snapped.
I gasped. Because even though he's shut down emotionally, his protective instinct overrides everything. He is so terrified of losing her.
It's the breakthrough of his true feelings through the wall of insecurity Ryder just built in his head.
Anger is just fear.
Anger is often just fear in disguise. He is terrified. The veneer of coldness cracks because the physical threat to Mary's life is more immediate than his social anxiety.
And he had reason to be terrified. Because they finally make it back to the inn, and Mary collapses.
The bedside vigil.
Mary comes down with a severe fever from the exhaustion and the freezing rain. She is bedridden.
Yeah.
And Tom spends all night keeping a restless vigil outside her door.
Yeah.
Just pacing the floorboards.
It is a brilliant echo of Colonel Brandon's senses and sensibility keeping watch when Mary Ann gets sick in the rain.
Yes, exactly.
The anxiety of the Regency era is heavily tied to illness, because without modern antibiotics, a severe fever caught in the rain was genuinely life-threatening. The man pacing the floorboards while the woman he loves battles a fever is a staple of the genre because the stakes are literally mortal.
And while Mrs. Gardner is nursing Mary, she looks through Mary's things and finds those true crime pamphlets that Ryder gave Mary back in episode 5.
The true crime connection. This is a great historical detail.
I love that they included this.
The 19th century had a massive fascination with macabre penny dreadfuls and the Newgate calendar, which detailed the executions of criminals. It was early true crime.
Just like our obsession with podcasts today.
Exactly. And why was it so popular, especially among women? Some historians argue that reading about crime was a way for women to safely process the underlying violence and precariousness of a male-dominated society.
That is so dark, but makes so much sense.
Ryder giving Mary those pamphlets was his attempt to court her with dark, intellectual edginess. But it contrasts sharply with Tom, who courts her with genuine emotional connection and psychological safety.
But Biggs, the heartbreak is not over. Because Ryder has to twist the knife one last time.
Ryder's final sabotage.
Before Ryder cowardly flees the Lake District in the morning, he corners Tom out of sight. We don't hear exactly what he says, but he feeds Tom a malicious lie or some toxic manipulation that completely shatters Tom's remaining confidence.
He breaks him.
And as soon as Tom hears from the doctor that Mary will recover, he packs his bags and leaves, without saying goodbye.
He ghosts her in the 19th century.
I was screaming at the injustice. She wakes up, her fever breaks, and the man she loves is just gone. He leaves her heartbroken and utterly confused. Why would he do that?
Because Tom's fatal flaw is his lack of self-worth. We talked about his imposter syndrome earlier.
Right.
Ryder clearly targeted that exact vulnerability. Ryder is a manipulator. He observed the interaction about Pemberley and likely weaponized it.
Oh, he definitely did.
He probably told Tom something like, "She's only using you to make me jealous." Or, "She actually desires wealth. Remember her joke? You can never give her the life she wants."
Poisoning the well.
Ryder poisoned the well, and Tom drank it because it confirmed his own pre-existing internal bias that he was not good enough for Mary. He leaves not because he doesn't love her, but because he genuinely believes his absence is a kindness to her.
It is so painful. But Snark Squad, we have to talk about the episode 10 spoilers because we know how it ends and we need some hope.
We need resolution.
Yes. Impartially speaking, some fans on YouTube pointed out that in a world full of chaotic political administrations, viewers are desperate for the whimsy and joy of this show. We need a happy ending.
The human brain seeks closure. When the real world denies us structural stability, we seek it in fiction. And episode 10 delivers that resolution by finally giving Mary her structural and emotional independence.
She finally breaks free from her mother. And I need you to tear Mrs. Bennet apart right now because her conditional love is infuriating.
Oh, Mrs. Bennet in this adaptation is a masterclass in toxic parenting driven by economic anxiety.
The worst.
She only values Mary once men with status like Ryder start looking at her. For her entire life, Mary was the useless, plain daughter because she didn't attract wealthy suitors.
It's disgusting.
The moment she has social capital, Mrs. Bennet suddenly cares. It is conditional love based entirely on market value. It's the commodification of her own child.
Exactly.
Mary breaking free from that emotional abuse and recognizing that her worth is not dictated by her mother's approval is the true triumph of the series.
Yes. She becomes a governess. She writes a book for young ladies. She finds her own path. And then, babes, Tom comes back.
He was back.
They clear up the miscommunication. And he gives her the ultimate bohemian proposal. He doesn't offer her a massive estate like Pemberley. He offers to go live in sin in Italy with her.
The Italian dream. He offers her an adventure, not a cage. Traditional Regency marriage was often a gilded cage. You got the estate, but you lost your autonomy. By proposing, they moved to Italy, which was the traditional refuge for romantic poets and exiles who wanted to escape the stifling morality of British society. He is offering her a life outside the restrictive systems that oppress them both.
It is the perfect conclusion for a woman who said she wanted to seize life. I am still spiraling over how perfect it is.
There's a very satisfying ending.
But we have to transition to our first segment because I have opinions that need to be categorized. Let's get into the Regency Etiquette Report.
Okay, the premise of the Regency Etiquette Report is simple. We discuss who displayed the best manners this episode and who would have been the absolute talk of the gossip papers.
Defending every choice.
You go first. Who gets the award for best manners?
Okay, I am firmly defending Mary Bennet. The award for best manners goes to Mary for unconditionally helping Caroline down that mountain.
A controversial choice, but okay.
As we discussed, Caroline was terrible to her all morning. She was condescending, she was a pick-me, she rubbed Miss Baxter in Tom's face.
She did all of those things.
And yet, the second Caroline injured her ankle, Mary didn't hesitate. She offered her shoulder, she supported her weight, and she trudged through the mud and freezing rain to get her rival to safety. Etiquette isn't just knowing which fork to use, it's about how you treat people when they are vulnerable. Mary showed immense grace.
That is a highly moral interpretation of manners, and I respect it. However, I'm going to argue for a more tactical, historically accurate interpretation of Regency manners.
Of course you are. Who is it?
I'm giving best manners to Mrs. Gardner.
Okay, defend the chess master.
True Regency manners are about orchestrating social harmony without anyone realizing you are pulling the strings. It is the invisible hand of social management.
The invisible hand.
Mrs. Gardner smoothly, seamlessly set up that romantic chaperone situation on the mountain. She recognized the logistical blockade to Tom's proposal, she removed herself and the Hursts from the equation, and she instructed Tom to act as protector.
She's a genius.
She manipulated the social chessboard with absolute elegance and, most importantly, plausible deniability. She ensured everyone's reputation remained intact while facilitating the desired romantic outcome. That is elite, high-level etiquette.
Okay, I bow to the tactical genius of Mrs. Gardner. But now for the fun part. Who is gossip paper fodder? Who is making the front page of Lady Whistledown's newsletter this week?
We have to roast Mr. Ryder. It's not even a debate.
Oh, obviously.
The man abandoned two vulnerable women on a freezing mountain during a severe storm. If the gossip papers got hold of that, he would be socially ruined.
Finish.
He'd be branded a coward in every drawing room in London. The headline would be "The Dastardly Dash of Scafell Pike." His reputation would disintegrate overnight because he failed the most basic test of Regency masculinity.
The dastardly dash. I love it. He is a complete fraud. But I'm also throwing Caroline Bingley into the gossip papers.
Because of the foliage.
Because she literally ate a flower out of pure marital desperation. Imagine the headline, "Desperate spinster consumes toxic foliage to snag a husband."
It is deeply embarrassing.
If anyone saw her crunching on that primrose, she would be the laughingstock of the ton.
As we discussed, it violently breaks the rule of sprezzatura. You are supposed to attract a husband without looking like you are trying. Eating a weed on a mountain is the opposite of effortless. It is feral.
Feral Caroline. Okay, moving on to segment 2, Who Deserves Better? We each pick a character we feel most sorry for this week and debate if they are victims of circumstance or their own decisions. My first pick is Mary Bennet.
Make your case.
I feel so sorry for Mary because she was emotionally whiplashed. She did everything right. She opened her heart. She let herself be vulnerable. She stood on that mountain and listened to Tom bare his soul. And then, through no fault of her own, she is interrupted, led on, and then abandoned. She was left freezing, physically ill, and completely heartbroken. She's a pure victim of Ryder's malicious interference and Tom's deep-seated insecurity. She did the brave thing, and she was punished for it.
I agree she suffered, but I will challenge the idea that she is a pure victim of circumstance.
Oh.
Part of her physical suffering was her own choice. When the storm rolled in, Tom logically asked her to come down. She chose to spite him by staying with Ryder. That was a bad, irrational decision that led directly to her freezing and catching a severe fever.
I fiercely disagree that we can hold that against her. As I said earlier, it was a trauma response.
You can't just excuse the poor decision.
You cannot expect a woman who has been emotionally neglected her entire life to act with perfect, cold logic the moment she feels the man she loves is rejecting her. Her irrationality was a symptom of the emotional damage inflicted upon her.
A fair defense. She's a victim of her psychological conditioning, but my pick for who deserves better is Tom Hayward.
Even after he ghosted her in the 19th century.
Yes, hear me out. Tom is a victim of Ryder's toxic psychological manipulation and his own crippling class insecurity. Yes, ghosting her was objectively the wrong move, but look at the context.
He was fragile.
He was just publicly humiliated by the Miss Baxter scandal, which Caroline happily reminded him of. He is fragile. He finally works up the courage to propose, offering true psychological visibility, and he is ambushed by a narcissist who knows exactly which societal buttons to push.
Ryder is the devil.
Ryder likely weaponized Tom's lack of wealth against him, triggering his imposter syndrome. Tom left because he genuinely believed he wasn't good enough for Mary and would only pull her down into poverty and misery. He is a victim of psychological warfare orchestrated by Ryder.
Okay, I see that. My heart breaks for Tom's lack of self-worth. But let's debate character number 3, Caroline Bingley. Do we actually feel sorry for her?
This is a complex debate. Is she a victim of the oppressive Regency marriage market, specifically the laws of coverture, which place so much pressure on women that she is driven to eat foliage? Or is she just a victim of her own bad decisions, her mean girl attitude, and her incredibly slippery boots?
I honestly think it's a tragic mix of both. I do feel a sliver of genuine pity for her.
Really?
Yeah. She is aging out of the marriage market. She has no real power, no legal autonomy unless she marries well. The patriarchal system is rigged against her, and that breeds absolute desperation.
So you excuse the meanness?
That desperation makes her act terribly to other women, viewing them as competitors for survival rather than allies. Her meanness is a symptom of a diseased system.
I take a harder line. I have less sympathy.
Of course you do.
The system is oppressive, yes, but Mary faces the exact same system. In fact, Mary has far less money and status than Caroline, and Mary does not resort to cruelty.
That is a very good point.
Caroline's injury on the mountain is a direct result of her vanity. She wore inappropriate footwear for a hike because she prioritized aesthetic performance over practical survival. She is the architect of her own sprained ankle, both literally and metaphorically.
You are ruthless, but your logic holds up. Okay, segment 3, letters that should never be sent.
My favorite segment.
This is where we each invent 2 fictional letters one character should send to another after this episode, read them dramatically, and discuss the chaos they would cause. I will go first.
I tapped into my emotional dramatic side.
I expect nothing less. Deliver the drama.
Letter number 1. This is a furious, unhinged letter from Mary to Mr. Ryder.
Oh, let's hear it. Mr. Ryder, you absolute, unequivocally spineless coward. You speak of Wordsworth and the grand romance of the storm, yet the moment the wind actually blew, you scurried down Scafell Pike like a frightened rat. You left me and Caroline to freeze while you sought the comfort of a fireplace. Keep your true crime pamphlets and your empty poetry. If I ever see your face in London again, I will personally ensure every lady of consequence knows you run faster from rain than you do from commitment. Yours with immense disdain, Mary Bennet.
That is lethal.
Thank you.
Let's discuss the mechanics of ruin here. If that letter were intercepted by the gossip papers, Ryder's reputation would be completely decimated. In a society that values male bravery and protection, no father would let him near their daughters.
Never.
He would be blackballed from gentlemen's clubs. It would be total social excommunication.
Good. He deserves it. Okay, my second letter is a desperate romantic letter from Tom to Mary that he writes at the end, but ultimately throws in the fire.
Bring on the angst.
My dearest Mary, I am a fool. I stand outside your door listening to you breathe, terrified that the mountain has taken you from me. I wanted to give you the world today. But Ryder spoke to me. He told me things I cannot bear to write, but they confirmed my darkest fears. That my lack of fortune and my recent scandals make me unworthy of a mind as brilliant as yours. I am leaving to save you from my own inadequacies. If you ever read this, know that no one makes me feel more like me than you. Forgive my cowardice.
Yeah.
Yours, Tom.
Wow. If that letter hadn't gone in the fire, the entire plot of the show would have been resolved 3 episodes early.
I know.
It is agonizingly romantic. The chaos it would cause is purely emotional. It would have saved them months of grief and bypassed the entire miscommunication trope.
I was emotionally compromised while writing it. Okay, your turn. Give me your sarcastic, analytical letters.
Letter number 1. A deeply embarrassing letter from Caroline Bingley to her local apothecary. Dear Sir, I am writing to inquire, purely for academic purposes regarding a friend, about the gastrointestinal consequences of consuming raw Primula vulgaris, commonly known as the English primrose. If a lady of high breeding were to hypothetically ingest an entire flower, stem included, on the side of a mountain, would she experience severe indigestion? And, more importantly, does the botanical toxicity cause one to hallucinate proposals from men with less than 5,000 a year? Please send a tincture for nausea post-haste, discreetly. Yours, Miss Bingley.
I'm crying. Hallucinate proposals. If the apothecary leaked that to the gossip papers, she would have to move to the continent. She would be utterly ruined.
She would be known as the primrose grazer of Mayfair. No man of status would marry a woman known for grazing on shrubbery.
Primrose grazer.
Okay, letter number 2. This is a formal cease and desist letter from Mrs. Gardner to Mrs. Bennet.
Yes, put her in her place.
Sister, it has come to my attention that you possess a severe inability to recognize the fundamental worth of your own daughter Mary. You are hereby legally and morally instructed to stay completely out of her love life. You are not to arrange, suggest, or meddle in any future prospects. You only value the men who look at her, not the woman she actually is. If you attempt to thwart her happiness with Mr. Hayward again, I will personally see to it that your supply of smelling salts is permanently discontinued. Cease and desist. Regards, Mrs. Gardner.
The smelling salts threat. That is hitting Mrs. Bennet right in her hypochondria. That letter would cause a massive family schism, but it would be a necessary severing of toxic family ties.
It would be a boundary explicitly drawn in ink.
Okay, we are moving into our final segment, Tea Time Predictions. We each share 4 specific predictions for the characters' futures post-series after the happy ending in Italy. 1 bold, 1 romantic, 1 surprise, and 1 completely unhinged theory. Kick us off with your bold prediction.
My bold prediction requires some historical extrapolation. I predict that Mary's book, For Young Ladies, which she publishes, becomes a massive societal scandal because she accidentally includes way too much true crime.
Wait, really?
She starts off giving standard Regency advice on embroidery and piano playing, and by chapter 4, she is detailing how to detect arsenic in your husband's tea based on the Newgate calendar pamphlets Ryder gave her. The book is banned by the church but becomes an underground, highly lucrative bestseller.
I am obsessed with that. True crime Mary becoming a subversive author.
Okay, my bold prediction is that Caroline Bingley eventually realizes the marriage market is an absolute scam, takes her inheritance, and opens an exclusive, ridiculously overpriced finishing school for girls where she just teaches them how to be mean and perfectly posture themselves to survive society.
A school for social villains. It's a very practical pivot for her. Okay, romantic prediction. My romantic prediction is for Tom and Mary in Italy. I predict their bohemian life involves adopting a pack of stray Italian greyhounds. They live in a crumbling, beautiful villa. They drink wine at noon. They write poetry together, and they completely ignore all British high society rules. They never return to London. They just live in a state of constant, messy, intellectual bliss, entirely removed from the class structures that tried to keep them apart.
That is extremely cozy and historically plausible for British expats. My romantic prediction is that Mrs. Gardner and Mr. Gardner go on a second honeymoon to the Lake District.
Oh, they deserve it.
But they actually manage to enjoy the sublime view without having to manage the emotional crises and near-death experiences of 20-somethings. They just drink tea and judge the locals.
They deserve absolute peace. Okay,
Yeah.
one character who will surprise everyone.
I predict Caroline Bingley actually marries a poor, eccentric man who likes horses.
Caroline.
I think her ankle injury humbled her. She realizes chasing wealth and status got her nothing but a limp and a mouthful of weeds. She meets a guy in the country who is obsessed with equestrians. She finally drops the exhaustion of her spreadsheets act and actually finds genuine, weird happiness in a stable.
That is surprisingly redemptive. I love the idea of her dropping the act. My surprise prediction is about Mr. Ryder. I think he will surprise everyone by never marrying at all.
Plausible.
He is too obsessed with himself to ever share the spotlight. He will become one of those eccentric, aging bachelors who travels around boring people to death with his recitations of Wordsworth until he's eventually banished from every dinner party in Europe.
A fitting end for a narcissist. All right, time for the completely unhinged theory.
Oh, I have one.
Yeah.
My unhinged theory is that the local mountain guide on Scafell Pike was actually a paid actor hired by Mrs. Gardner to say the primrose joke just to distract Caroline Bingley so Tom could have a moment alone with Mary. Mrs. Gardner paid him off.
That is brilliant tactical espionage. I accept that as canon. It perfectly aligns with her chess master persona. But my unhinged theory goes much deeper into the psychology of the episode.
Let's hear it.
My theory is that Mr. Ryder never actually cared about Mary Bennet at all.
Wait, what?
Hear me out. Analyze the mechanics of his interference. Ryder was just trying to steal Tom Hayward for himself the entire time.
I am listening intently.
Think about it. Look at his intense obsession with Tom's attention on the mountain. Ryder doesn't actually try to corner Mary alone. Whenever Tom is focusing on Mary, Ryder suddenly appears and must speak to Tom.
Oh my God.
He forces Tom away, he isolates him, he demands Tom's focus regarding his legal matters. He didn't want Mary, he wanted to destroy Mary's chances so he could keep Tom as his own personal, attentive audience. Ryder is deeply, toxically in love with Tom.
My mind is completely blown. The toxic sabotage makes so much sense through that lens. He didn't want to date Mary, he wanted to be Mary. That completely recontextualizes the entire hike. He wasn't acting out of obliviousness, he was acting out of extreme, calculated jealousy. That is completely unhinged, and I believe it 100%.
It changes the entire dynamic. It turns a bumbling poet into a calculated saboteur.
It really does.
Oh my
Gosh,
God.
babes, this conversation has taken us on a journey from North Carolina Canada Day barbecues to the structural inequalities of coverture all the way to unhinged mountain sabotage theories. I feel like I have run an emotional and intellectual marathon.
We have survived the mud, the freezing rain, the societal pressures of the 19th century, and Mr. Ryder, barely.
But now we want to hear from you. Snark Squad, get in the comments, hit us up on social media. We have specific questions for you this week. Number one, what is your absolute favorite Canada Day memory? Or just your favorite summer holiday memory if you aren't Canadian.
Number two, which summer tradition will you never, ever give up no matter how old you get? Is it the risky fireworks, the melted popsicles, the hyper-specific potato salad? Tell us.
And finally, number three, which Bennet sibling are you rooting for the most across all the adaptations? Are you a Lizzie loyalist, a Jane defender, or have you fully crossed over to the Mary Bennet fan club like us?
We read all your comments, and your insights are always phenomenal.
Thank you so much for listening, babes. Remind yourselves to subscribe to the show so you never miss a messy recap. Leave us a 5-star review because it helps us out so much. And please share this show with another book-loving babe who needs to spiral about period dramas and historical etiquette with us.
The Snark Squad is always accepting new members.
We love you guys. Stay cozy, stay curious, and we'll see you on the Snark side.